Egypt is hosting on Sunday the second Cairo Water Conference, which is held under the slogan Water Scarcity. And here are the details of the conference, which will go live to watch.
في الانطلاق نحو المزيد من الآفاق الاقتصادية الواعدة يتقدمها
new promising economic horizon, starting with supporting the efforts of the country in different fields, like the implementation of the national fisheries project in Kafr al-Sheikh Governorate, as well as establishing 10 livestock barns nationwide, and also there is a veterinary center that serves Cairo University, Fayoum University, and Beni Suef University, as well as Minya University, in addition to another research center for all plants used as fodders for livestock. In continuation to the support provided by the company in the field of food security, the company is about to finalize the biscuits project to provide healthy meals for students nationwide. And the company also contributed to establishing granite and marble factories in addition to a number of logistical centers. And the calibers of the company are working even in the field of higher education through establishing 22 projects for public universities in different governorates. And the contribution of the company also can be seen in building new urban communities through implementing hundreds of buildings, like the housing buildings in Luxor with a total of 87 houses, as well as the feeding projects for electricity in Barawa and Damak, the electricity plants in Heliopolis, Dar, Masr, and Badr, as well as Sadat City, the tertiary treatment plant in Port Said, as well as the other in Heliopolis, 6 wastewater plants in the villages of Kafr al-Sheikh Governorate. Sports events. The company contributed to establishing the Olympic City and the stadium in Port Said, as well as developing the new Cairo Youth Center. In the field of tourism, the National Company for Contracting and Construction finalized the development and the renovation of Cairo Luxor Museum that would be opened in addition to the renovation of Yusuf Kamal Palace and establishing the center in El Fostat. The achievements of the company are going on in the field of roads through building roads in the city of Aswan in a record time of 21 days, along with developing all the squares before the African Youth Conference that was held in March 2019. And the contribution of the company is to develop Egyptians also. So the company went on with its efforts to develop the presence and future of healthcare in Egypt. It renovated 36 health units and hospitals, as well as the hospital in Mansoura and El Amiriya, as well as developing 140 ambulance stations and establishing 21 new ones, in addition to establishing the main center for the ambulance in the 6th of October city. The optimum goal is attained through meeting the needs of the ministries and authorities to build more buildings and new constructions, like establishing and renovating a number of tax authority buildings, as well as developing GAFI building, in addition to establishing the Industrial Development Bank. Work is going on, and the National Company for Public Contracting and Construction is turning the challenges into promising development opportunities. Who can expect that floods in Egypt, instead of becoming a disaster, became a gift? If it was not for these hands that have built the dams to benefit from the water of the floods, then it would have been a problem. And the projects are putting an end to this challenge that has always with threatened a number of Egyptian governorates. The fruitful coordination between the Ministry of Water Resources and Irrigation and the National Company for Public Contracts and Construction faced these challenges through implementing a number of industrial projects with big capacities like the dams as well as the sand borders and the artificial lakes. As a result of all these mega projects implemented in record time, the destructive impact of the water of the floods became a strategic reserve of water for Egypt that serves the current projects and the future generations. Work is going on and the hope is coming closer, and Egypt is moving towards a new horizon to support its development efforts, cooperating with its devoted builders and workers, on top of which are the men of the National Company for Public Contracts and Supplies. The development edifice with an Egyptian will. Thank you very much. Thank you. I would like to welcome to the stage Mr. Selim Vaitam, the Minister of Water and Wastewater in Senegal.
Excellences, Monsieur le Premier ministre de la République arabe d'Égypte, Excellence Moustapha Madbouli, Monsieur le ministre des Ressources en eau et de l'Irrigation de la République arabe d'Égypte, Dr Mohamed Abdel Atti, Monsieur le secrétaire général de l'Organisation de la Conférence islamique, Mesdames, Messieurs les ministres du Conseil de l'eau, de l'Organisation de la Conférence islamique,
منظمة التابعة لمنظمة التعاون الإسلامي، السيد الأمين العام لمنظمة الطقس العالمية، السيد رئيس المجلس العالمي للمياه، السيدات والسادة الحضور الكرام، كل منكم بصفته وقيمته الغالية. أود بادئ ذي بدء أن أشكر حكومة جمهورية مصر العربية للاستقبال الحافل وكل الاستعدادات التي اتخذت من أجل تنظيم أسبوع المياه بالقاهرة. السيد رئيس الوزراء، أطلب من سيادتك أن تنقل لصاحب الفخامة السيد عبد الفتاح السيسي رئيس جمهورية مصر العربية أن تنقل له رسالة الصداقة والأخوة من
From President Macky Sall, the President of Senegal. Senegal is participating with great concern and interest in this important Cairo Water Week, and the theme of this year's conference is facing the water scarcity, and this is of great importance to achieving the sustainable development goals by the year 2030. As you know, that water now is at a crossroad with development, and water is a cross-cutting issues with different sectors. So, This edition of Water Week held in Cairo is inviting us to think of the water resources through a continuous, comprehensive vision aiming at meeting all the contemporary and the future challenges to deal with water scarcity. The world is in need more than ever to implement smart solution at the technical and organizational level to enhance the use of water resources in an optimum manner. This comprehensive response should be related to the use of unconventional water as well as multi-sectoral cooperation, cross-border cooperation as well to meet the needs. In this context, it is so important to emphasize that Senegal to deal with water scarcity has introduced ambitious projects over the previous years to manage its water resources. Regarding the management of cross-border water resources, Senegal, as you know, is hosting the premises of very two important organizations for two water basins in Africa to implement the Gambia, Nile and Senegal river projects. We are working on enhancing cooperation in the field of water to achieve our objectives. These strategic objectives and measures are really symbolizing concretely the vision of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, this vision of cooperation for a better future. Senegal and Egypt, in the framework of implementing the partnership of holding a water international conference that is expected to be held on the 20th and the 21st, we expressed our cooperation to co-organize this conference. Senegal is keen on supporting this forum, and we are cooperating with the different water councils all over the world. And we are cooperating with the Ministry of Water Resources and Irrigation in the Arab Republic of Egypt. And since this Water Week is held in Cairo, we would like to say that there would be a high-level session held on Dakar Forum 2021. So I would like to invite you to actively participate in the proceedings of this session, Your Excellency the Minister. I would like to emphasize that the recommendations and the results of this session and all the activities that will take place during Cairo Water Week would help in enhancing the preparatory efforts for our forum that would be held in Dakar 2021. And Your Excellency the Minister, once more I would like to thank you and to thank you all. Now the speech is Mr. Louis Crochon, the head of the Global Water Council. Your Excellency the Prime Minister, Your Excellency the Minister of Water Resources and Irrigation in the Arab Republic of Egypt, Your Excellencies, the ambassadors, my dear colleagues, professionals in the field of water. The Global Water Council is honored to participate once more in the second edition of Cairo Water Week. And on behalf of all the members of the Global Water Council, we'd like to extend deep thanks to the government of Egypt for this initiative. Ladies and gentlemen, over history, we've seen that the world has always suffered from multiple crises. And the modern age is not an exception. You all know that there are a lot of tensions related to water and energy. Yes, dear friends, the planet and the soil is thirsty for water, and of course the inhabitants of the planet are hungry because water is scarce. People are suffering from a lot of challenges related to water that aggravates a year after another. Since history, water was always surrounding us, as it's water that motivates us to build civilizations and to feed our bodies and to develop and reconstruct. And water was always misused by mankind. Why do we always have this negligence and inconsistency? I think that it is mainly due to main reasons. The first of which is the overpopulation worldwide, and the second reason is that there is a lot of waste water and wasted water in different places. So we need to change our individual behaviors and to change our public policies so that we can stop destroying our water resources. Otherwise, this will lead to the millions of women, children, and men facing big disasters. And the main result is that despite all your efforts and our efforts, the demand on water is accelerating more than the water supply. So in light of all this, what can we do so that we can secure that all mankind can get the right to water and wastewater to achieve water security? We should share together the calibers, the knowledge, and use them in a better way. In the future, we will all learn how can we make use of other new untraditional resources of water, especially in Africa, and water resources like adopting water desalination, as well as benefiting from the aquifers in the hinterlands, in addition to reverse cohesion and reusing also renewable energy to do water desalination. We will move in this direction step by step, And we can see now good examples of efficient water treatment and water desalination plants in Africa, like El Arish plant under construction in Sinai. And the other alternative also is water treatment, especially that we have now wastewater treatment plants in Egypt, like El Gabal Al Asfar, for example. This is another important alternative for agriculture, and step by step it can be used for household purposes. The Global Water Council is ready to support the efforts in this context and to support the successful experiences of the different countries in using renewable energy. So today, tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow, there will be a meeting that would be held here in Cairo, and I suggest to the members of the Global Water Council to establish an observatory for the unconventional water resources. And this observatory would cooperate with the experts, the organizations and the governments. And I wish that the Egyptian government and the Egyptian agencies that I met before through their first participation in this observatory would contribute to our efforts. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to take into consideration another important issue: control of demand. So we need to develop this framework to deal with all types of water wasting. As my colleagues mentioned, that water preservation is a national priority now for all countries. To achieve such objectives in our daily lives, we need to use the wireless networks and the Internet of Things and computer clouds, as well as blockchains, to serve humanity. We need also to develop all our digital systems. We recognize that the digital system is made for humanity. So we do not want humans to be captives to these things. There is a future that we need to look forward to, and to deal with these challenges, to go to this future. And we need also to protect the ecosystem. This is the new challenge we are facing right now. And this will take me to another important recommendation on a very sensitive issue: protecting the ecosystem. And I'm one of the oldest members of the Global Water Council, so I can look on the other side. This problem should be discussed, and we need to talk about cross-border management of water basins, because we do not want these problems and challenges to lead to conflicts. We do not want any more conflicts in this world. The joint and suitable use of the water of the River Nile is a must for all neighboring countries, and this can be decided through dialogue, and only dialogue. And once more, it's dialogue that would give us the opportunity to agree on an equal share and equal policy to manage this water resource. And this is what we call the water diplomacy. Water diplomacy has played a role even before traditional diplomacy, because it is only one of the suggestions of people working in the field of water to avoid conflicts and disputes that might appear afterwards. 10 years ago, when I became the chairman of the Global Water Council, I started the dialogue between Turkey, Syria, and Iraq on the Euphrates water. And we have done this step by step, but together we were able to come up with positive results. I would like to express my thanks to the Prime Minister and the Minister of Water Resources and Irrigation for organizing this event that has 65 countries and governments. The Global Water Council is here to provide its contributions, and these contributions might help renewing dialogue between neighboring countries over the Nile Basin to solve the problem. This dialogue is very important for us in the Global Water Council, and it's the council that can warn about a problem and come up with solutions and take the initiative of the partnerships. We are ready, so let me remind you by the end of this speech that everything related to water has a political dimension, and this is part of the political move that we need to make, and it should be at all political levels, and this is the main challenge. My dear friends, the ministers of water, this would be our objective during the International Water Forum that would be held in Senegal in 2021. Senegal enjoys a lot of respect at the international level due to their long experience in the field of water resources management, and we know that we can come up with practical solutions so that we can give a better meaning to this second forum. And to overcome this challenge, we need your cooperation, and we need the Egyptian experience as well as your commitment, so that we can benefit from this experience in Dakar conference. So there should be a response to support the poorest and the more vulnerable countries, so that they can enjoy a better future with dignity. Thank you very much for the success of the Cairo Water Week. And now the speech is Mr. Abdessalam Wild Ahmed, the Assistant Manager General of FAO in the Near East and North Africa. Your Excellency Dr. Mustafa Madbouli, the Prime Minister of the Arab Republic of Egypt, Your Excellency, Dr. Mohammed Abdelati, the Minister of Water Resources and Irrigation in the Arab Republic of Egypt, Your Excellencies, the Ministers, ladies and gentlemen. First, I would like to convey to the august guests the greetings of Tung Yu, the General Manager of FAO, and his deep wishes for a successful Cairo Water Week. And let me also start by congratulating the President of the Arab Republic of Egypt, Mr. Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, and the government of Egypt for their efforts in dealing with the issue of water scarcity, as well as putting the issue of sustainable water resources management as a top priority. Water management is considered to be the biggest global challenge facing the Arab region, and we all know the different aspects of this equation. So today it's enough just to say that 16 out of 22 countries in the Arab region are facing water scarcity, and also the share per capita in the Arab world is only 0.10% of the per capita of any world citizen. And climate change is increasing the negative impacts. We need to deal with the surface water and the problem of scarcity of waterfall, as well as the floods, the low yield of crops. Also, overpopulation is considered to be a challenge, and it is an additional burden on water and the ecosystems in our region. And the sector of agriculture might suffer because it takes about 25% of water resources, and it will face a challenge to keep its share of water resources in light of the increasing demand of water for industrial household energy uses. Waterless agriculture would lead to less crops and yields, and it would lead also to reducing the vulnerability of people, increasing unemployment, increasing migration, and these are considered to be the biggest dangers that we might face. And a lot of people are going to face from these transformations, and unfortunately these would be the countries that are facing today conflicts and disputes. Without achieving the sixth goal of the Sustainable Development Goals related to water, won't be able to achieve the first objective of Sustainable Development Goal, which is zero hunger and zero poverty. Goals 1 and 2 of the Sustainable Development Goals. And without achieving real development regarding goals 1 and 2 of the Sustainable Development Goals, the agenda of Sustainable Development Goal would be jeopardized. Your Excellency, the Prime Minister of the Arab Republic of Egypt, Your Excellencies, the Ministers, ladies and gentlemen, this dark image should not be attained, and we might not face it if there is a strong political will and strong partnership that we are seeing today during Cairo Water Week. And it's very good that Egypt and different countries in the region have an increasing feeling that the future would be determined through the way we manage the water resources and through the initiative of water scarcity developed by the countries with the support of FAO and its partners. A lot can be achieved right now. And the countries started introducing national management strategies for their water resources, as well as monitoring water consumption in agriculture, in addition to selecting optimum options for water usage. Regarding the supply, a lot of developments are taking place in different parts of the region regarding irrigation, water resources, as well as management and treatment of water resources and water desalination. There are also other developments regarding reducing the demand on water, as well as focusing on high yield valuable crops, like, for example, the efforts exerted in Egypt, Jordan, and other countries through changing their policies of agriculture. The introduction of innovative systems for the use of underground water is another option, and we have seen it in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and Tunisia. And one of the most important events witnessed by the region over the past month is the high-level meeting regarding the meeting of the Ministerial Council for Water and Wastewater Resources in the Arab region. And finally, they came up with Cairo Declaration emphasizing the importance of integrated action to deal with water scarcity. And thanks to the strong leadership of the League of Arab States, they started coordination through establishing a high-level joint meeting, and this would be held in parallel to Cairo Water Week. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to wrap up by confirming the commitment of FAO to cooperating with all countries to achieving transformation in its agricultural sector to make better use of water and to achieve food security, water resources sustainability. And we would like here to hail the role played by the Egyptian Ministry of Water Resources and Irrigation for their constructive cooperation. Thank you very much. And now, Mr. Maciej Popowski, the General Coordinator of the European neighboring countries in the EU Commission.
Ministers,
Your Excellency the Prime Minister, Your Excellency the Ministers, members of international organizations, ladies and gentlemen, as a representative of the EU and the EU Commission, I'm so glad to be here with you today in the second edition of the Cairo Water Week. And together we were working hand in hand, and I would like to emphasize today that Cairo Water Week and its activities and working with the Egyptian government on achieving its objectives was very important for us. And as a contribution to Cairo Water Week, we are all trying to implement the sustainable development goals, and especially the goals related to water. During the first Water Week, we launched the water initiative with the participation of 100 participants from the private sector at the international level. And we were looking forward to an enabling environment for investment. And we have also launched the Egyptian-European dialogue with the participation of more than 100 partners in Egypt and the EU countries, as well as updating the water sector through sustainable partnerships in this field. This year, in cooperation with Egypt and the EU, there would be podiums for high-level dialogues at the level of the European Union, the African Union, the League of Arab States, and the Union for the Mediterranean to cooperate in the water sector, as the water sector is considered to be one of the priorities for the EU. And this would always be one of the pillars of our interventions. We are trying to attract more investments to raise the awareness, as well as investing in the infrastructure of water. We are trying to establish partnerships between the public and the private sectors with more than 500,000 euros and up till 3 billion euros as grants from the financial institutions to deal with these challenges in Egypt, for example, that has started in 2007, and we have worked in 12 Egyptian governorates where we established more than 25 projects, and they all contributed to improving the standard of living for more than 60,000 Egyptian citizens. Despite all this, we still believe that we need to do more so that we'd be able to meet the aspirations of the Egyptians and move forward. I would like also to mention water diplomacy. The ministers of foreign affairs a year ago, last November, adopted comprehensive results related to the management of water and water governance. And we found that in North Africa and the Middle East there are several waves of drought, as well as other things that contribute to the exacerbation of the water scarcity, as well as building more dams that lead to the increase of tension. The EU and the EU Commission are ready to exert more efforts to deal with these challenges, and we are ready to communicate with different parties. We are celebrating success, but we need also to remember that the problem of water is affected by climate change, and our responsibility as the European Union is to have a better future. We are facing real challenges, and we need always to provide high quality water in Egypt and to provide suitable tools for wastewater services for more than 100 million Egyptians. At the end, I would like to announce that the European Union would launch the program Year for Water with a budget of 20 million euros as grants, and they are trying to achieve water security and water resources sustainable management in Egypt, and we wish that this program would be implemented before the end of this year. And now, Dr. Mohammed Abdel Ati, the Minister of Water Resources and Irrigation in Egypt. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate, Your Excellency, the Prime Minister, Dr. Mustafa Medbouli, Your Excellencies, the Ministers, the Ambassadors, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. First of all, I would like to express my happiness for honoring us by being here with us at the opening session of Cairo Water Week, that gives us the opportunity to meet and interact seriously with all professionals in the field of water. Those issues that are so important for us as part of sustainable development goals, the protection of our water resources as well as the development their usage. Organizing this international event emphasizes our keenness awareness on enhancing cooperation between us, as well as sharing future visions, raising awareness about water issues, and encouraging innovative ideas to face the challenges of this vital sector related to the existence of human beings, as well as undertaking the needed measures for integrated management of water resources to achieve sustainable development goals in a way that meets the needs of the present without harming the rights of the future generations in light of climate change and the challenges of overpopulation. Ladies and gentlemen, you all realize that the issue of water is a community issue that has economic development dimensions. Despite the international and regional efforts, there are still a lot of countries in the world facing water scarcity, as about 2 billion inhabitants in more than 20 countries, mostly developing countries, are facing the trouble of getting potable, safe water, in addition to 0.3 billion inhabitants that lack water and water services. We expect that during the coming 25 years, more than 2/3 of the people of the world will suffer from water scarcity unless effective policies are taken to face these challenges. In light of this all, we need together to realize what was faced by South Africa when they reached day zero, as the lake feeding Cape Town reached zero water level that deprived it totally from its water resources, while Tushad Lake, the 6th biggest lake in the world, led deterioration due to the drought on the African coast that led to more competition on water, as well as the appearance of Boko Haram, the terrorist group. Ladies and gentlemen, let me in brief refer to the adverse effects of climate change on water scarcity and drought, and the difficult conditions Egypt is facing due to the regional and international developments that have their repercussions on water and development. When we come to talk about water in Egypt, it is the issue of existence. It's considered to be a part of the Egyptian national security. Water management in Egypt is facing major challenges internally and externally due to the limited source of water, as Egypt depends on cross-border water by more than 97%, which invites us all to emphasize the importance of cross-border cooperation, as this needs us all to give it more concern. This cooperation is considered to be one of the targets of the 6th goal of the Sustainable Development Goals related to the coordination of water resources usage and protecting it for the coming generations. In this context, we have a challenge: reaching a fair arrangement for filling the dam in Ethiopia. While we support Ethiopia's position to achieve development, we want on the Ethiopian part to have an understanding of the Egyptian needs for water. Egypt, since signing the Declaration of Principles in 2015 in Khartoum, was trying to reach an agreement, integrated agreement regarding the operation of the dam, but the stringent Ethiopian stances prevented us from doing this. We have established different mechanisms and held a number of meetings, but we did not achieve the objective due to these stringent stances. The recent meeting held in Khartoum showed that there is a big gap between the two countries regarding the operation of the dam. Egypt asked for rules for refilling, and the operation of the dam, taking into consideration the operation of the dams in the three countries through a mechanism of harmony, so that no severe harm would be caused to any country, taking into consideration extended drought events, as well as having observers from three countries to follow up with this implementation. But this proposal was fully refused by the Ethiopian part, although it is based on studies conducted by companies and consulting offices and international research centers and experts This made Egypt call for the implementation of the principles of the Declaration of Principles through having a fourth party in the negotiations to facilitate a just agreement protecting the rights of everyone and not causing severe damages to the Egyptian interest. The speech delivered by the President before the General Assembly of the UN had a clear message to the whole world regarding the negative impact of the weak negotiations, and the international community has to shoulder its responsibility in this context. Ladies and gentlemen, Egypt is a desert country and one of the most countries in the world that is dry, and it depends on the river Nile, and it has a population of 100 million. For you to recognize the challenges we are facing, let me introduce to you some facts about water status in Egypt. We are facing a water gap between the supply and the demand that exceeds 90% of renewable resources. And this gap is filled through the reuse of water, and this is equal to 33% of renewable sources. And in 2 years, this percentage would be up to 40%. This percentage will make Egypt the biggest country in the world that reuses water, in addition to the importation of additional water in the form of crops, and the percentage of this virtual water is 57%. We import 12 million tons of wheat. Egypt is the biggest importer of wheat in the world. And per capita of water has decreased to be 10th his per capita in the beginning of the 20th century. Climate change is another challenge represented in the rise of water level, as well as increasing the temperature and its effect on the community. We have identified water resources sector as one of the vulnerable sectors because of climate change. For example, in the coastal areas, they will be affected by the rise of the seawater level, and it will lead to the mixture between water level of the river Nile and the seawater, as well as the surface water, and this would increase also the drought events. And since Egypt is a downstream country, then it is more vulnerable to climate change. Ladies and gentlemen, these challenges imposed on us active work and doubling our efforts to adopt effective policies, as well as rational management of our water resources from an integrated manner, as well as seeking to develop it and implement awareness campaigns for all segments of the society to rationalize water usage and to protect it, in cooperation with the stakeholders and the private sector, as well as establishing serious partnerships to attract investments and achieve more better management for water resources to meet the current and the future needs of all sectors to achieve sustainable development. Egypt worked on developing its vision for sustainable development goals of 2030 that was launched in 2016, and this vision included a pillar for water, introducing the strategy of the Ministry of Water Resources and Irrigation and its ambitious plan to manage our water resources, focusing on 4 main pillars. Underneath it, we will find a number of activities and branch programs achieving economic, social, environmental, and institutional interests, taking into cooperation cooperating with the Ministry of Housing, Ministry of Industry, Ministry of Agriculture, as well as the localities and the stakeholders, the farmers, and the different stakeholders who would implement the plan. It includes 4 main pillars. The first is protecting water quality and protecting it from pollution, as well as controlling the adverse environmental effects to protect general public health. And this is the most important pillar in this strategy. The second pillar is rationalizing water usage as well as increasing its productivity and efficiency. Third pillar, developing new water resources and making use of flood water, as well as cooperating with the water basin countries, creating suitable environment to protect water resources through raising awareness, issuing legislations, holding trainings for professionals. And this strategy was interpreted in the form of a national plan for water up till 2037. And the cost of this plan is more than 50 billion US dollars. And this represents another challenge to implement it and to do desalination in coastal areas in Egypt, so that the desalination capacity would be 3 billion cubic meters by 2030. 3 billion cubic meters annually, as well as water treatment project, the national project for water usage rationalization, as well as harvesting rainfall. These projects would be implemented in cooperation with the civil society, the private sector, and the farmers, as well as international organizations. And we will use early warning, new irrigation systems, as well as the accountability systems. And all of these systems are managed by drop. The full efficiency of water management system is more than 85%, and it is one of the highest efficiencies in the world and in Africa. Regarding the efficiency and the productivity, and we are working on increasing it through increasing the percentage of recycling from 33% to 40%, as well as adopting modern methods for water management, as well as adopting smart irrigation systems to enhance regional and African cooperation with the Nile Basin countries. And African countries will provide technical assistance to establishing wells, as well as energy generation, providing training courses for capacity building through grants of about 1.8 billion Egyptian pounds annually. And in the end, I would like to once more express my happiness to be here with you, and the fact that Egypt is prepared to share its experience with everybody. And thank you for your keenness in participation with us in the inauguration of the second Cairo Water Week. And I'm confident that your participation in this event would no doubt contribute to achieving the objectives of the second edition of the week and crystallize ideas to enhance cooperation amongst us, and peace be upon you. And now we would like to welcome His Excellency Dr. Mustafa Madbouli, the Prime Minister. In the name of God, Your Excellencies, the ministers, the ambassadors, ladies and gentlemen, the guests of Egypt. Let me at the outset to convey to you the greetings of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, the President of the Republic, and his best wishes to second Cairo Water Week, and hoping that it would hold important discussions to contribute to facing our challenges. I was honored by attending the first Cairo Water Week that discussed a number of important issues, as well as the developments influencing these water resources. I'm confident that effective participation in this annual event would give the opportunity to experience sharing, as well as enhancing cooperation and increasing regional and international awareness about the issues of water, especially regarding regarding of the international reports that a number of regions won't be able to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, one of which is Goal 6 on water and wastewater. Ladies and gentlemen, Cairo Water Week is held in light of grave challenges facing water sector like climate change, as climate change and its expected effects would be one of the challenges facing mankind in the modern age, and the human being was the main reason for these effects. All countries in the world right now need to work together on facing these adverse effects of climate change through developing policies as well as strategies and sound implementable plans in addition to adaptation with the effect of climate change, especially that the sector of water resources is considered to be the most affected sector. The water sector is facing a big challenge, water scarcity, from which a number of regions are suffering. And this made us identify this theme as the main theme of the week this year, to raise the awareness about this phenomenon and to share experiences on dealing with it, in addition to social, economic, environmental changes, as well as lacking transparency and joint vision in a number of the joint Nile basins and river basins. And this invites us to ask to where would these changes take us, and how our countries would face these increasing challenges regarding water management and food security in light of water scarcity and the reduction of the water per capita and competition between different sectors using water. We expect that the sector of agriculture that consumes more than 80% of water resources in our region would face the biggest part of these adverse effects, which would negatively influence economics in the country as well as food security and agriculture. Ladies and gentlemen, enhancing cross-border cooperation regarding the joint river basins and the unilateral decisions made by some of the upstream countries that lead to grave effects on the downstream countries is the biggest challenge to a large number of countries in our region, as number of countries in the region share water resources with other countries, and here we need to emphasize the importance of enhancing cooperation between these neighboring countries so as to achieve the interest of everybody without causing any damage to any country. In the framework of respecting the principles of the international law for the use of joint rivers, and in this context we need to refer to the challenge facing Egypt to achieve a just agreement, as mentioned by my colleague the Minister of Irrigation, regarding filling and the operation of the Ethiopian dam. This dam that no social, economic or environmental studies were conducted on it. These studies that we wanted the consulting office to finalize by the beginning of the year 2018, but unfortunately because of the refusal of the colleagues in Ethiopia, the studies were facing a stalemate, and we have tried recently to achieve a right agreement regarding the operation of the dam through the mechanisms agreed upon between the three countries, one of which is forming the independent scientific group. But up till this moment, no concrete development was achieved. Even the proposal that was made by Ethiopia does not meet the concerns Egypt has and cannot be accepted because it neglects other elements applied all over the world, one of which is coordination between different dams on a joint river, as well as the identification of facing the hydrological conditions of the river, as well as creating a coordination mechanism. As the three countries sat on the round table since the declaration of principles signed by the leaders in March 2015, and they were not able to reach an agreement, which made Egypt call for implementing Article 10 of of the Declaration of Principles, the intervention of a fourth party in the consultations. Here I would like to emphasize that the Declaration of Principles included also the fact that the three countries need to agree on the rules for filling and operating the dam. Ladies and gentlemen, Egypt, due to its sensitive geographical location, due to its limited water resources, and the fact that, as the minister said, Egypt is the last downstream country in the Nile Basin, and 97% of its water resources come from outside its borders. So Egypt adopts the principle of cooperation and coordination to achieve the sustainable development goals, and the water element in Egypt is considered to be one of the pillars of the national security, as the sustainable development projects in different fields in Egypt are related to the ability of the country to provide the water resources needed for these plans. And the government has started the implementation of a plan for the management of water resources up till the year 2037, with a total cost of 50 billion US dollars, based on four main elements to achieve water security. The government over the past 3 years implemented mega national projects with a cost more than $8 billion for water desalination, water treatment projects, as well as the rehabilitation of irrigation and agriculture wastewater networks, in addition to other projects that manage water scarcity and secure social protection for the citizens. The Arab Republic of Egypt is exerting all its efforts to achieve Egypt's Vision 2030 through the program of the government to improve the quality of life for the Egyptian citizen, to include different socio-economic, environmental, cultural, political aspects. And the plan of the government is based on investing in the Egyptian citizen. So it is giving due concern to scientific research, and the government is targeting developing scientific research in Egypt to meet the needs for solving problems like the problems of the water sector. And the government also is developing the public services like water, wastewater, housing, transportation services. The African dimension is a main element in the program of the Egyptian government. The political leadership emphasized the fact that we belong to the African continent, and we believe that the success of our African countries would be achieved when we have a united political will in the continent to achieve together the goals of development through sharing our resources and supporting women and youth in Africa to create a better future and promising opportunities for the future generations, to immunize them against irregular migration, terrorism, in addition to facing the expected environmental dangers because of climate change threatening the stability of our countries. As for the Nile Basin, Egypt is keen on developing cooperation with all Nile Basin countries, and Egypt understands the dire need of all countries to development, to deal with overpopulation, and the need to developing the countries to achieve the interest of everybody without harming others, or the sustainability of the river. And the methodology adopted by Egypt in solving the problem of the Renaissance Dam and trying to reach an agreement between everybody, and the concern given by Egypt to achieving a just agreement, taking into consideration the interests of the three countries, Egypt, Ethiopia, and Sudan, without imposing anything on the country or harming the interests of the other countries, is really signifying this. Ladies and gentlemen, I've looked at the topics that would be discussed during the technical sessions throughout the week under the slogan "Response to Water Scarcity," and I'm confident that together we would try to translate our visions into implementation plans and policies, as well as sharing data and information to face the challenges and to find means to improve water resources management as regional. Just cross-border cooperation is one of the means of enhancing cooperation at the regional, national and local levels, as well as protecting our water resources. Also, sharing experiences between neighboring countries and joint management of cross-border water and water diplomacy and water policies, and the coordinating frameworks at the regional, national and local levels, in addition to focusing on the modern applications of scientific and technological developments in the field of water management to secure sustainable development, as well as expanding the use of unconventional water resources through low-cost treatment of water and the reuse of water, as well as using technologies for water desalination and using also the semi-saline water in fisheries, as this is an option to reduce the gap between the supply and the demand on water resources. At the end, once more, I would like to welcome you all and welcome your participation in Cairo Water Week 2019, and I wish that your participation and the fruitful discussions between the participants during the sessions would help us come up with sustainable results for the issues of water. And at the end, I would like to thank you all, praying to God to crown your efforts with success, and peace be upon you. Thank you all for being here with us today, and tomorrow the sessions and the meetings of the second edition of Cairo Water Week will start up till the 24th of October.
Notre chaîne vous propose